All right, gang. Welcome to part two, The Power of Brushwork, session one, Sky and Trees. This is our final class, and we are looking at your guys' final projects. And it has been a ton of fun, and I think we've all learned an immense amount. Um, hmm. So I want to do spotlight for everyone. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm going to do share screen, and back to Padlet. All right. We did take a lot of time looking at everybody's work. Martha, I know that you're a couple assignments behind.
Right.
Anything you'd like to talk about in particular looking at your work?
Not really. I mean, we talked about that one last week, so we don't need to talk about that again. And
Okay,
I just wanted to I had such a hard time getting on Padlet that I just wanted to post some of the early things
good.
that, but anyway, that's about as far as I've gotten. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Um, yeah, and let's talk, offline, maybe give me a call or whatever. I think we've talked about that, about figuring that out. But I still love like this assignment. I love this week of work. I think it really helped a lot of people. And even if you're not really happy with your little page here, I think it's beautiful. And I think, I mean, it's funny that they don't all fit giant pairs, but I think I think you definitely did the assignment really well. Just figuring out form and structure. So we'll, if you're okay, Martha, we'll jump over to Lisa.
definitely.
All right. So, Lisa, let's talk real quickly about what you got going on here.
Um, am I supposed to start or did you? I'm happy to save time if you want to just go ahead and
And
shred it.
talk about your work. No, 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 no. So you're approaching this, and last week we talked about like how I built the painting from kind of back forward and then forward back, but also left areas. So I think what you're doing is very, very sound. I think this is a really good way to build a painting like this, where you have this like light areas that are fine detail over dark areas. I think this is really actually coming along. What I don't like, Lisa, and you is that you're doing a repetitive brush stroke. It almost looks like a fan brush, kind of a brush stroke. So I would look to how can you break it up a little bit just to not have a repetitive form. But what you're
Okay.
doing really well is you're binding likes. You're binding your darks, you're binding your mids, you're binding different objects. And I think that's really going to help you to build this steadily together. I think that truly that you're on the right path. I mean, I see you reintroducing light. I see you reintroducing warmth, compared to what you had going on. I think that this is a matter of time. I think that you're going in the right direction.
Okay. Yeah, and I probably did use the same brush too much maybe, so that might help it. I was really struggling to find the form of the dark like just like I was trying to kind of remember what I did for the pears and the trees or the bushes because that worked well and this isn't working quite as well, but I'll just keep experimenting.
Okay, perfect. That is a perfect, perfect response. So I want you to finish this painting. I think you're going in the right direction. I think it's going to be a Lisa painting, not a Michael Orwick painting, which is great. That's what I want. I want you, even if you're using one of my paintings as a reference, it's a jumping off point.
Uh-huh.
Um, but what I'm going to think about, and this will work great with the next class, is we're going to then be talking more about structure, rocks, and how do they relate, and then water and the reflections. But more, I'm thinking about the rocks is that's going to give us the structure. So what I think you might want to lean into is half light, meaning side lighting.
Okay.
Like think portraiture, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
and then I think that backlight may be a little bit, I don't want to say difficult, but I think a little bit abstract, because you're dealing with all these very soft gossamery edges in this. So I think that when we get to the more structural side of painting, I
Mhm.
think that that's going to make more sense to you. And most painters do deal with half and 3/4 light. And that's going to give you the shape of the object that you're painting that'll help you. And we're going to be talking about all the different light sources and how that all works together in the next class.
Okay.
So I would just say, yes, you're in uncomfortable, what I call the the ugly teenage years,
Yeah.
where, just zits and gangly arms and, and we have to get through that. I literally, when I get into this stage of the painting, a lot of times I'm just like, trust the process, trust the process. When I'm out plein air painting and, people come around and look at your work because you're out somewhere public and they peek at it at this stage, I'm like dying. I'm just like, come back later. I promise it gets better. This teenager grows up into a very handsome young man. And that's it. It's just the paintings do go through awkward phases where we're kind of lost or unconfident. And I think that you really are in the right direction. I think that things are going to work out in this painting.
Okay. And in the original painting, um, it is kind of backlit, but maybe it is more like a little bit to the right. I was having trouble with that. So,
Yeah, it's definitely backlit. And in fact, the sun hasn't even risen above the horizon. Like the
right.
sun is probably here somewhere.
But there's more light in general.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good point. But yeah, but again, I think that with oil paintings, that it's easier to lighten than it is to darken. So I think that's why I'm saying I think you're going in the right direction.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're mentally trying to skip steps. And that is difficult because as we're learning to paint, we're just like, well, why is my painting ugly? The reference I'm looking at, maybe this one's ugly, but it's not ugly, it's not awkward, but it has to generally go through that phase
Okay.
where we're gonna build it towards a thing. And I might, yeah, no, I don't want to rush you. Yeah, let's just stay in contact. And I think that you are, again, I think you're doing better than you think you are. I think your direction is more sound than you think it is.
Okay. That's not much. But yeah, cool. All right. I'll just keep going. Thank you.
But look, let's just do this. Go back and forth. And if I told you all you were going to do is continue to lighten and figure out detail,
Uh-huh. Okay.
you're not far off.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, Linda, we'll look forward to seeing your work tomorrow.
Yes, I'll try to catch up.
Absolutely. Okay, I remember the reference and telling you all the things I was scared of. And you've nailed it. Like literally all the things that I was telling you that I would be hesitant to do this painting of. This is a very, very, very sound piece.
Beautiful.
Like if I squint my eyes, or if I think of it as a black and white, or if I try to simplify it, you've done such a good job of binding likes and likes. So I talk about that a lot, like the shadows, the darks, bind together, and it creates kind of a whole with enough detail, enough information. The mids do the same thing. You simplified the right things. You emphasized, because I think there was a weird like spot of light hitting over here, which made the photo interesting, but would have made the painting difficult. My only issue would be this tree right here. Again, if we think, this is Beyonce, she's pissed. Who is this, like, young dancer poking her head in? And
What would you suggest I do with it? It actually was much more, it stood out even more. It's a little silver spruce, and it was, I actually toned it down a little bit. I added some grayed down greens to it to kind of tone it down a bit, but I don't know what to do. What would you suggest?
all right, let's ask a quick question. What's the painting about?
The view.
The view, the gorge, yeah.
Okay. And
It's
just like the blue
But-
flowers in
Sorry.
Meg's painting,
Right.
just like what is this helping or telling us? It literally feels like it doesn't belong to these trees, doesn't belong to these trees, it doesn't belong to these trees.
Well, what color would you make it?
I would make it not there.
I'd cut it down.
Yeah,
No tree whatsoever.
Well, what would you put in its place?
whatever's behind it.
Oh, well, who the hell knows?
Well,
Good
you
point.
could do some more of those little sort of,
The
if you look
bushes.
at the little trees.
The
to the
bushes.
right of it in the back there, you could put 1 or 2 more of those, or 3 of those little darker trees, and then you could do those kind of clumpy areas. Just kind of blend in the clumpy areas that are right next to it, what you have on the
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I don't accept your question or your answer. Like, who the hell knows? We we obviously know it's this.
There's
It's-
more of that, yeah.
If you took that out, the water would actually come in further, maybe.
Possibly if we brought it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I when I look for like the story, the overarching message, the overarching feel, the theme, the whatever you want to call it, is like, okay, like these little brown spots, like this tree, like what's fighting the story, right? Okay, again, let's imagine me telling you a story about an experience that just happened, right? So I've already told about like, okay, and at the very end I introduce a new character, but don't tell you anything about it. But imagine I'm telling you a story, but Jane pops in at the very end and just says, I also like McDonald's, or you know what I mean? Just something that's completely barely related, or just something that's arbitrary. This is fine, but by itself, again, not picking on Meg, but using that example of the blue flowers. Again, such a good painting, so I'm having to pick on you. I'm not, I'm not saying that this makes this a bad painting by any stretch, but having it there does not help the painting.
Okay, I agree. I totally agree. So I'll figure out something for it.
Just bring this dark across, make it logical, and bring these lights across, make them logical. Bring the pine tree. We know this is closer than these, so you just bring the darks. Yeah, I had a teacher say, same thing was happening to me. I had something in the foreground that was there, and I was like, well, what do I do? It's right there. It's in front of me. He's like, he just kind of like grabs my shoulders and walks me 4 steps to the left and says, now it's not there.
That's true.
Well,
That's what I wanted to know though. So I suspicioned that was true, and I knew that I would have to do something with that. So I will find out what's behind that little bugger.
You will make up what's behind that little bugger, but yes.
I like making things up, so.
Yes. No, it's a gorgeous painting. I love the harmony. I
Thank
love the
you.
cool greens and blues. None of the colors, even this bright little silver spruce, nothing is out of place. Like there's a innate northwest overcast harmony to this. This is a beautiful, beautiful painting. I'm literally picking on you. It's, me having to go, okay, what can I make it so Kristen's time was worthwhile being here? And that's that. I love like your interesting shapes. You're not making everything into just big bushes. You got these strange shapes. Your pine tree isn't a, air freshener. It's your cloud shapes are irregular. They go from small to big as they come towards us. There's so much goodness here that
Thank
the
you.
fact that my eye keeps going here is not, it's a distraction.
Okay, that's going away. We shall discover what's behind it. Can I ask you a question, Michael? How do you feel about where the two hillsides come together, where the river goes away?
Here,
Am I okay?
Yeah, that's pretty.
yeah, it feels perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I won't worry about that either. All right.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
these darks right here,
Mm-hmm.
just I bet you they're much closer to this than they are to how dark they are.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I did not
and
tone
then-
those down.
In these brown spots here that are, again, they draw my attention.
Yeah,
I bet you they're also closer to the background color, and then the little light spots on them are very likely just reflections of ridges of paint. If they're not, get rid of those little highlights.
okay, will do.
It's a beautiful piece. Be proud, be happy. It's
I
very
am.
well done.
Thank you.
All right, Jane. Does this mean Jane set up her paints?
No, it's still the same. It's always been 2 feet by 3 feet at the end of the dining room table.
Okay.
That's all the room I have. So that was the first version there on the bottom, and then I softened the shadows. The last one I posted was the softened shadows on the road.
Okay. Yeah. Smart choice. Smart choice. Good job.
Nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like this. Your shadows probably aren't exactly the same value. You can look into some darkening it and stuff. I'm gonna give you a little more leeway, Jane, just because I know that you're literally brand new to painting. And I'm really proud of you for being a part of this group and for painting. And
Well, I thank you for kicking me in the butt.
yeah, good. But also on that same compliment is you actually have a lot of really good things going. Like, for being one of your first paintings, you have some interesting brush marks. You're thinking of interesting things. You're trying out ideas. I would probably get rid of the warm because the red feels like a little lasery versus this is light.
Yeah,
and
it's the
dark.
underpainting.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
wanted to warm it up.
I think, okay, so if you and I lived closer and, we were painting together, I would tell you to simplify things, and you've done that. I would tell you to find likes, binding our darks, binding our mids, and you've done that. So you are really a lot ahead of most early painters, because most early painters just want to find detail. We're so attracted to it. We're so attracted to the strange and the interesting. So I mean, all in all, my only advice going forward is let's go ahead and print out a black and white of this.
I'm going to do that.
And that will help you to see that, some of your lights, some of your darks, are a little off, but all in all, and again, you're making beautiful shapes and really
Thank
interesting shapes, and you're getting some really nice contrast. I think all of us can remember our early first attempts at painting and would be like, yep, I wish that was my early attempt. That would be much more comfortable than the paintings my wife makes fun of me with and won't throw away. from college and stuff. And I think you have, just from your artistic background and your love of art all your life, I think you're going to grow and learn a lot faster than a lot of people.
Thank you. Can I tell the ladies the process?
Mm-hmm.
I would, like I've mentioned a couple of times today, I just didn't know how to hold the brush. I have painted watercolors, but oils, you know, they just feel so different. And just, Michael, I've been adding the Galkyd light to it to make them more slippery.
Okay.
And that felt better to me. But what was underneath was a third grader's effort at painting the photograph. And that's where I started just saying, oh, screw this, I'll go back to watercolor. And that's when Michael kicked me in the pants last week when you guys heard me tell my husband that you weren't supposed to hear, Michael's gonna make me paint it. So I basically tossed and turned the night before last, thinking, how am I going to make this worth my time and worth the class and worth Michael's wonderful teaching techniques. And so I walked around my house and I looked at, we have a lot of paintings, and I looked at first my favorite paintings and tried to analyze, why did I like them? What attracted me to them? And then I walked around and looked at other paintings and looking at everybody's brush strokes. And then I just started mixing colors. That's another thing I'm having a hard time with oils. It takes so much paint. It takes, as you probably all know, it takes so much paint to get to the color you think you want. So a lot of levels of frustration, but when my feet are put to the fire, hopefully I make a point of coming through and giving it my best at that point. Thank you.
Perfect. I think we could have an entire 4 hours of all of us telling our early painting nightmares. Just, you know, again, I talk about the blob that eats all the other colors just when I'm trying to mix a color, like learning to just divide my piles of paint. Like, oh, this is really getting off track. And, you know, all the things. I mean, it takes so long, Jane. And the truth is, like, you're, in some ways you're helping yourself, and in other ways you might be hurting yourself. The fact that you jumped into the third season, you know, and you didn't learn design and values yet.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, again, we'll talk, but I would really hope that you would come back in the fall, and however we name it. I'm hoping Michelle and Lisa wrote it down for me, whatever the titles.
I'll plan for that.
But what makes Gail and Donna and a couple of these people so good that their paintings read so quickly and so simply, but feel involved and detailed, is not the brushwork. That's a bonus. It's not the color. It is the value structure that underlies it. And I cannot ever, there's no way for me to tell you that importance, but it took me so long. I mean, I went to college, I paid, you know, $20,000, $30,000. And it wasn't even till after college that I went back and looked at my favorite illustrators, my favorite, you know, comic book artists, my favorite animators, my favorite everybody, and went, oh, if I break this down to black and white, it's gorgeous.
Michael, you have a
yep.
story that you tell about, who was it who that one summer urged you to do?
Yeah, Don Bishop. Yeah. There was a whole summer, Jane, where I was so excited because I got, you know, invited out to paint with Don Bishop and Ramona Youngquist, two people I literally studied in college, good friends of mine. And Don basically whispered in my ears, like, again, as my memory goes, and basically told me, get rid of color. You're not ready. Like, focus on design and composition and values. And, you know, basically for all summer, I went out and just painted little tiny 8x10s, started off with black and white, and then ended up doing burnt umber and, transparent earth red and ultramarine blue and white.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden, so I could bring in some temperature, but I wasn't worried about color. And to tell you the truth, Jane, I didn't start even hardly thinking about brushwork until kind of recently. I made a whole career of just making value based with decent compositions. That will get you, again, 70 to 80% of your way. This is wonderful. And I'm glad you're thinking of all those things. And of course, I was thinking about brushwork and all those things, but it wasn't the impetus. It wasn't the most important part. So I hope that makes sense to everybody here. I know that, and I always literally joke that whenever I, do a presentation, I take the food pyramid, right, of painting, the hierarchy of painting, and its design and composition takes up basically the lower half. That would be whatever, and then it's color, then it's temperature, then it's brushwork and edges at the very, very top. But then I flip it on its head and say, and this is how beginning painters want to paint. This is what they think. They're like, oh, I love Monet, his brushwork. You know what I mean? We all know our favorite painters and we think about their brushwork. But the truth is, none of those painters would be who they are without a strong design and composition. And color will never save a painting. Brushwork will never save a painting. It always comes down to design and composition. So anyway, that all being said, love you, love your work. I'm so proud of you for jumping in with both feet and, being nervous because you're supposed to be. It's scary. But then saying, you know what? Hold your nose. I'm jumping in.
yeah, I was pretty frustrated.
Yeah. And this is good. I bet you, again, if we asked everybody be like, if that was one of my first paintings, I'd be very thrilled. Be very happy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good job.
Thanks.
I love the sky hole.
Oh, I had so much fun with those.
Yep. No, there's so much goodness going on here.
Thanks.
So even if you don't continue to take classes with me or with us, I hope you do stick with it. You definitely have an innate ability and just you'll get it. And
That's the goal.
Yeah, if you allow me to tell you a little bit about, let's just focus here, it'll accelerate it. It'll feel like you're stepping backwards or you're not getting to the fun part. But as I say, we got to build the foundation before we pick out our drapes.
Yep. I have to tell you, I am very satisfied with how it came out, considering where I started, which was very, very frustrated and very lost feeling because there's color, there's the paint, there's the brush, there's everything.
Yeah. If you saw my first couple paintings, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm crushing Mike. I'm so much better than him.
I doubt that. Somehow I really doubt that.
I don't know. Next time you come over, remind me to show you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Gail, these colors are to die for. That sky is just you and Michelle and your Pepto-Bismol. How do you make it work? I don't know.
Love it.
That's the plus side of the 30. The 30 is below that.
Oh, okay, cool.
So pretty.
So that's the 30.
Yeah, okay, let's really quickly tell me a little bit about how did that feel? What did it make, like, what did you think of that kind of weirdness? Is that something you would have ever thought of or done on your own?
No, I never would have done it on my own.
You still
I
like
thought it
each
was-
other?
I thought it was very freeing. Because I'm far more detailed than that. So it was very freeing. It's like the little sketches I've been doing. So I really enjoyed it. And I do underpaintings. I do them in the transparent red and ultramarine and burnt umber. So there was no underpainting here. This is the underpainting. And I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I appreciate for your first effort at this, because I could see you doing awesome things with this. But I appreciate that you kept the shapes simple, you kept the design simple. You have a good sense and an idea of like, okay, this is new. Let's be a little bit on the safe side. Like, let's not make everything overwhelming. So
Mhm.
good job with that. And then you took that and you made something really quite beautiful.
And, I liked the brush strokes on the 30, especially on the tree trunks and, the kind of the, in the edges. So I kind of saw the sky holes in the original 30, so it was very easy to go back in. The other thing I really liked was the looseness of the reflections when I went back. I
Yeah,
didn't,
this
I did-
portion here is probably one of my favorites.
yeah, I didn't overthink it or overwork it. I quit.
Good. We all love quitters, Gail.
Yeah, yep. So, so
All
this
right.
this exercise was very freeing.
If you don't mind, and I know that Kristen and Martha and Jane and Sharon all want to know, what is this color combination?
The pink is quinacridone magenta, and then the dark is the dark that I already mentioned. It's the transparent red with the ultramarine and the burnt umber, and I pushed the ultramarine and then added some Hansa yellow to it. But the other thing I've been doing with that dark combination is I've been able to get some really pretty pine green colors
How?
there, and with just a touch of that
No,
the aqua color, the blue-green color in the sky and in the water.
I think your skies are fabulous.
Thank you. I really enjoy, I like this color combination. It's very, it was a very, very, very limited palette.
I
Basically,
love that palette.
Tell me,
Yeah,
tell me,
the only thing I really added was the magenta and the Hansa yellow. Otherwise, it is strictly the dark, the transparent red, burnt umber, and ultramarine.
Well, it's so rich and lush and it's serene. It's just makes me just calm sitting here looking at it.
Well, thank you.
And no white.
Yeah, there's a lot of white in there.
Oh,
Yeah, white without, yeah.
yeah, anything where you're seeing texture and it's a light color has white added to it. So yeah, goes perfectly what I was just telling Jane is about simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
All painters, like my first, like again, going back to like Jane, you'll get to see them maybe someday if you're, bring a bottle of wine. My first
It's a long
painting,
drive.
yeah, we're all overly complicated. There are portraits of, self-portraits and, all these different things. It's like, no, this is so simple that it's not simple.
Yeah.
It's
And
just
that's, yeah.
3 shapes, 3 values.
That
And
sky.
that's what I want you to lean into in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It'll make the learning curve faster. It'll make your paintings, the odds of them being successful higher. And
Okay.
the funny thing is again, Jane, and Gail knows, and Michelle knows, I've built my career on this as just a simplistic palette with trying to find what is the poetry, what is the balance, what is the movement, what is the mood. And it doesn't take overworking. In fact, usually overworking gets in the way.
Well, the overworking comes from ignorance on my part.
Well, or wanting to make it perfect. I mean, I can look at that and see, oh, I can add a lot of tree trunks and tree shapes on the right.
Yes.
But I didn't want to, I wanted to quit. I didn't want to overwork it. I wanted to keep this one simple.
I love the shadows on the mound on the left, the shadows under the trees, and then the edge of the land where it meets the water. It's just so nicely suggestive of of what's happening and where it sits in space.
It's got kind of an Asian feel.
It really does, like almost those, what are those inks called? The Asian ink paintings.
Sumi.
Sumi, yeah.
Sumi.
And then here's the thing that I, as you know, where I'm at in my career and what I'm doing, what I appreciate so much and I overdo is I just tell you there's an edge, there's an edge, there's an edge. And you just let it kind of bleed out. And our brain just goes, yep, there's an edge. Like you're not telling us, you're suggesting it to us. And that is so much more interesting, is being suggested and not told.
My pastel teacher kept telling me that. That was her big thing. Suggest. So
Something that I notice, I mean, I absolutely love this painting. But I've been listening to a lot of the conversation, well, the whole conversation, but the part that other people tend to pick out as something that they particularly like, the person who's been painting has come back with, oh, I had the most fun with that. And so it seems to be that when we are most present and most
liberated,
connected and enjoying that, that's when we're like at the right spot at the right time. So just wanted to mention that.
No, that is huge. I used to, I have a bunch of different signs that I change. Right now, my sign up on my wall is devotion, not discipline. And then I scratched out not, and I put plus discipline. But my old saying was that your viewers can tell when you're having fun.
Yes, that.
And it's so important because people ask, you know, oh, that painting took you 100 hours and that painting took you 30 minutes. Why are they the same price?
Has nothing to do with time.
Yeah, and the painting I
Nothing.
love more is the 30-minute painting, always. It's never the 100-hour painting.
Yeah.
100 hours is work and fixing, and 30 minutes is it came out right.
You were in the zone.
Yeah, exactly. And Gail, I love a lot of your work, but like this is one of yours that I would like to own. Like I really, really like this simplicity. I like the poetry in this. This is a beautiful painting. I feel like looking at it, I can learn from it. And
I'll ship it to you.
there we go. We'll trade.
What size is it, Gail?
It's 9 by 12, so it's little.
Oh, it's
All
just
right,
a little guy.
All
I
right,
haven't been brave enough to do that kind of looseness on something large. I need to just
All right.
pull it and do it.
Oh,
Send it
yeah,
to
that
me
would be
and I
daunting.
will we'll do a trade. Anyways, this is a painting that you've been thinking about
For a while.
entire class. I think it was class 1 where you said I want to do a bright yellow and into the darkness. And I'm not going to critique this one because I already talked to you a bunch. I'm going to invite Meg and Lisa and Sandy to talk about this painting a little bit, just because you guys have been a tiny bit quieter. Nyla, you're quiet too, but I see you thinking over there. But I like to see what you guys think. But before I do, is this painting crooked or did you add a bit of a hill to it?
I added a bit of a hill to it.
All right, I'm done. Let's hear from Meg.
Hi. I love this a lot. I like the moodiness and drama, and I really like the values you did. I think I really like the lights and the midtones and the darks. So I would hang this on my wall.
Absolutely. Meg, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So you fluctuate between kind of tonalism and color, more color-based paintings?
I don't have a style yet, so I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, but what do you think? Do you think of this as more color or more tonal?
Oh, I guess I'd probably think of it as more tonal. I mean,
And
there's,
why would that be?
well, I think it just has, I mean, there's it seems like it was a limited palette, so it has less colors, but like it was used in different ways, different values. And when I think of color, I guess maybe I'm thinking a little, I don't really know, I'm making this up, so.
But where's the blues? Where's the greens? You know, where's the full gamut of chroma?
Yeah, like I'm seeing more like yellows and pinks and blues and grays and like sepias and things like that, like. But
That's perfect. I'm gonna jump to Lisa really quick with that same thought, Lisa. When I talk about journalistic versus poetic art, what does that make you think when you're looking at this? Like, is this more poetic? Is it more journalistic? And then maybe why?
Well, that's a great question. That I wish I could answer. It makes
All right,
me
I'm
think
going
of-
to. No, I'm just
it
kidding.
makes me think of the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I just love it. It's just such a broody sky, and then the amazing golden orange. I mean, it's just fabulous. So I would have to say, well, I would have to say poetry, because journalistic to me, I don't know. It's cool, but it doesn't evoke a lot of emotion from me necessarily. I mean, I might say, wow, that's fantastic. Look at the technique. But this just pulls me right into a whole story. I mean, it just looks like a movie set, and I want to sit down and have popcorn and watch what happens.
Yeah, so what you said was perfect, literally perfect. So what I think about poetic versus journalism, the journalist tells you this. The poet invites you to be a part of the story. And this does that. It tells you enough. It's like, you know, look at this little barn, all these things. But it really, like, every one of us, even if I've never lived where Gail's lived, or, you know, seen this scene exactly, it invites me to become a part of the story. All right, who else did I say I was going to ask to talk here? Was that you, Sandy?
Yes, it was.
All right, Sandy, you live in such a color intense area, Hawaii, and you know, I wouldn't ask you to paint in sepias and burnt umbers and everything else, because that just doesn't speak to Hawaii. But what do you think of this? And could you see you taking some like these ideas and leaning into them, but with a different color sensitivity or sensibility?
Well, actually, I did paint a painting using those colors in this class.
Oh,
It was a storm with an orange field.
yeah, exactly. I think the conversation started with your picture.
And so I, of course, really like the color scheme. How do one of the things, like the little barn, makes me feel kind of lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a sense of depression almost down here.
Well, I mean, it's just it's lonely. That's all. And so the colors are great. At first, when I first saw the painting, I was like, that road's too simple, or there's something that could be added to it to make it. But then as I was watching it, you know, just staring at it, I thought, no, actually, that's actually pretty good. And I really like the top clouds at the top of the painting. I think the colors in there are really beautiful. So, and also in terms of Hawaii, there is a place in Hawaii, up in the hills, where it's a field almost that color, and there are more hills, but you look off into the ocean, which is very far away, but clouds can come and it can rain. I mean, it can look like that. I mean, the barn wouldn't actually fit, but Hawaii's a little bit more varied than just, vibrancy.
Yes, no, the whole middle island is just dry like this.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's a beautiful painting, and
Thank you.
Did the barn make you feel lonely?
Yeah, it has kind of a desolate, and I struggled with that a little bit because again, I was trying to keep it simple.
Mhm.
And I've thought about adding, one of those old windmills to it and maybe a suggestion of a little fence back there to add more interest to it. But then I go back and look at it and say, oh, I don't know. The part of the story is it's desolate.
Yeah, no, it definitely conveys that.
Oh, you didn't share your initial sketch of the road. So it's so cool, Sandy. You said exactly the conversation we had last Thursday. Literally. Because the road initially did this big winding back and forth and came through.
And you can kind of see it on the left.
Mhm.
And it was so interesting. I was just like, I think that the road was competing with the sky.
Mhm.
And then we also talked about the fence posts being like, weather beaten fence posts and all these different elements. And I'm so thrilled that you did not listen to me at all. I really am. I mean, that's just it. That's what makes this so fun is everything I tell you guys, even though I've painted maybe a couple more paintings than you guys have, they're just thoughts and their ideas. And I'll read it in a little bit, but my favorite thing about painting is that we set up a challenge that has 1,000 answers. And it's just up to us. And that's what makes art is we pick the answers. We pick the poetry. We pick, more or less, we pick all of that. And yeah, Gail, if you're not selling by the end of the summer,
I'm hoping.
yeah, you should be. You literally should be. And that goes for a couple of you guys. And that those of you that want to pursue that, but I think that every one of us looks at this. I can see Linda just leaning in and just melting into this painting. Yeah. And Cheryl's crying. She might be drinking, but
You know what I see when I look at something like this that may look not like recently abandoned? I love old houses, old barns, and old country roads because
Me
the
too.
buildings themselves just speak of the emotions of the humans and the animals that have been there. And even though the trails, there's like a couple of roads going to this barn, that somebody has created happy memories here. And I just go in and I try to feel that feeling. And I just get these chills going up and down my body, just like crazy. And I can hear the horse nickling. I can hear maybe a goose or something out back that's out of range, squawking, or a rooster crowing, and maybe the whiff of baked bread across the plains from the house. That's and looking at the storm, the smell of the scent of before it's going to rain, you can tell it's going to rain, and there's moisture in the air, and the colors are just intense, and everything is so vibrant, and just it's just vibrating with love and beautiful memories for me.
And you also want to know what happened, where did those people go? Where, you kind of want to know about their future too.
Exactly.
That's the poet, right? That's the poetry we're not telling you any of this. We're inviting you to tell, because that's not the story I got from this. I got the kind of sad, but I don't find sad as like I said depressing, but I you know what I mean? But I find beauty in depression as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like beautiful, sad movies are still beautiful. And I find this there, but I find hope. I find like a field that needs rain, rain's coming. There's so much here. Nyla, I would love to hear a quick thought from you, and then we're going to move on.
Well, basically, everything I was thinking is just about been said. But I love the way it just pulls you in, and there's just if you look at the road and you go up into the sky and you can sort of go around, it's just like it's taking you on a trip.
Exactly right.
So, it just envelops you.
And you know what she has in this design and composition, and her values are carrying you through every step that we everything that we see.
And look at this transition. These tops of these trees, look at this area.
Yes, that's so beautiful.
It never goes there unless I tell you to go there. But our eye sees it and bounces off, because it's saying this isn't important, but I still know where the tops of these trees are. I still know the dark clouds. The focus stays where the focus is meant to be. The eye moves through it. And Gail, I just feel like I'm pumping you up too much. I'll tear your next paintings apart.
I didn't expect this. I expected you to say, where's your fence? And you need to add something more.
No, I appreciate you not listening to me. But what you've done is you've created a story for each and every one of us. And that's the goal in poetic artwork, is you gave us enough information, but not too much information, that, Linda smells bread and I see like, oh, this is an old barn about to fall down, and, it's been long lost. And it's still beautiful to me because I know I live in those parts of I've got family with those structures on their land. So I love it. I love that. And I hope that made sense to everybody. I do love the painting, but I'm hoping that everybody realizes that this pertains to all of us, and all of our work is that poetry is not saying more. Oftentimes it's saying less, and picking the elements that we focus on. So
Now, is that going to be part of our fall design thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll show you these,
Because I have a question for tonalist people, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I don't understand why it's orange. It's like your pink sky. It doesn't register to me. There's nothing wrong with it. I love it, but if I wanted to paint that, I'd have to paint it green.
Green sky?
No,
Green.
I know what you meant, Cheryl. Yeah.
I don't get that, and I want to learn that.
Well, that's the seasons he's talking about, how to paint the color and the light in the seasons. And that's obviously an autumn scene.
Well, it's an autumn thing. Yes, it would be. It could be. But
Have you ever been in the Midwest, Linda?
Yes, I've traveled in all of the lower 50 states, and I grew up looking at these kind of fields in the fall, and in the northeast fields look just like this.
Yeah. And Cheryl, have you ever been in the Midwest?
once or twice, it took 4 days to go across Iowa. That's all I remember.
Cheryl, your question about sort of specifically with tonalism, if you go through and look at images of tonalism, it's not always orange. A lot of times it kind of is, but there can be toneless greens, toneless blues. It's sort of basically within the limited palette.
Yeah, and Michael does the ones we did last session were, so many of them had this color and that color sky, and like it doesn't sink into my head. I'm too realist.
You're a literalist. Yeah. So my very first plein air teacher, what was his name? But anyways, he could lean in, like just see greens in the skies where I saw blues. He could see pinks where I saw, white. And he basically just said, yeah, you just see glimpses of it or what you wish you saw.
Mhm.
And yeah, again, it goes to the poetry. Okay, so let's pretend we were telling a poem about this barn, the sky, and all the other things, right? So what is the story that Gail's trying to tell us? Well, she left it open enough for all of us, but we do know certain things by just the color scheme. So if Gail wanted to make this a vibrant, I mean, if this was green and the trees are green and the sky was clear, that's a completely different story.
Mhm.
So what we're doing is leaning in not only to what we see, but the story we want to tell.
Okay.
And yes, there's times where you exaggerate it and make it up. And again, that's why I work from black and white photos a lot of the time, is because I know that that color is such a strong element. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos and stuff, and a huge amount of the YouTube videos I watch are literally filmmakers, storytellers. And they'll talk about like, yeah, I just took my whole 2-hour movie and, turned it to this color scheme, or put a filter over it to do this thing. Or when this character is in it, it's this color scheme because I want you to know he's evil, and this color scheme and with soft light because she's sweet and innocent. And so I'm just looking to these story elements that will help us to convey our thoughts and feelings. Cheryl, I already know that you're too good like to say what I'm about to say as an artist and a creator, but when the camera came out, they're like, oh, painting is dead.
No.
No.
Right. And then they said, okay, when digital painting, back in the 1990s comes out, painting is dead. And now AI is coming out.
Yep.
Painting is dead.
Yep.
Right? No, all that does is free us up to be more authentic and more poetic and more human than
Because a
ever.
computer can't do any of that.
That's right.
Not yet. We got a couple months, but but anyways, that's it. Like everybody's like, aren't you terrified of AI? Yes, I'm terrified of AI, but I refuse to be scared. All AI has done is made me go, okay, what makes paintings more paintings? Layering, transparency, or opacity and texture.
And emotion.
And emotion. So yeah, we can be scared. We can think, oh, the era of the artist is dead, which again, I all my friends on Facebook are posting, doomsday things, but no, use it to push us. Yes, AI can do amazing things. Yes, cameras can do amazing things. Yes, digital art does amazing things. But it frees us to not have to do those things. Let's lean in towards the things we want to do and the things we enjoy doing. If I was teaching a class on photorealism painting, yeah, I would be terrified because we're never going to beat it. But we're never going to see the angels in Linda's clouds. We're never going to see the children, the generations of people that Nyla sees in her paintings. We're never going to see all the things that make us human and bring humanity to our art. So that's what I want to lean into more and more and more and
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So all I can say is lean in towards the poetry. But yeah, in the beginning, it's perfectly fine to, replicate and to copy because we're learning to paint, we're learning to mix colors. That's all great and wonderful and super useful. But the end result is not making a photo. the end result is, you know, expressing ourselves, finding the angels in the clouds. All right, great. Are you guys still seeing the Padlet page?
Yes.
All right, I think that we are just about to the last two, and then we'll take another break and then we'll come back. So is Diane Lewis still with us? I think Diane had to jump
You were
off.
Miss Donna?
Yeah, Donna Goldstein.
I thought we talked about this one previously.
I think she fi-
We did at one point.
No,
Made difference.
yeah, this is 14 days ago.
Okay.
So lovely painting still. The sky is still remarkable. Don is traveling around Europe, so we'll all weep alligator tears for him next week when he comes
God
back.
bless.
Yeah. Diane Lewis.
I like that, Diane.
Is Diane here? No. I'm just gonna say
She
right
was
now.
a while ago.
Yeah, beautiful underpainting. I understand the structure and the values. I wish Diane was here because I'd like to know a little bit about the direction of it. So I'm just going to say, hey, Diane, between now and next week, if you get a chance to watch this, go ahead and give me a call. But I think, yeah, you're off in a right place. I think you might be getting ahead of yourself with minute texture and all of that. And yeah, what an intricate picture. I can see all the cast shadows and whew, this seems like a painting that would make my head spin, but lovely. And I just find oak trees, they're my favorite tree. I just love them so much. So I love the canopy and everything else that oak trees present. So anyways, Diane, if you have questions about this, please reach out to me and let's talk. And Cheryl.
Okay, someone
definitely
wanted
not
to
really.
see this. Someone wanted to see this and so I posted it for a bigger one. But this is my poetry. And maybe somebody else doesn't see that, but that's what I see in a window.
Why are you hesitant about saying that?
Because I don't know if I don't think about it in terms of poetry. It's kind of hard to explain.
Can I ask why you're in my class?
Because I need to get back to painting in general.
Yeah, but I mean, there's 1,100 painters and teachers. Like, what was it that made you decide to take my class versus, you know, all the other paintings? or
Well, I
teachers
do
out there?
underpaintings in your tonalist style. In your wipe away style.
You do?
Yeah.
With
And I did
acrylic?
this one started out as nothing but burnt umber, I think.
Okay, so let's talk about that then. I'm glad you're here, Cheryl. I
Thank you.
I love having you in my classes, but I am curious, like, why do people take my classes? Like, again, I know there's so many great instructors, so many great lessons out there, so many ways to spend our money.
But
My
you're
cat's in the attic again. I can hear him.
quiet and you're easygoing and you're not trying to change what I do. You're just trying to teach me what's behind it.
Ah,
And
that's a perfect answer.
And that's what I need. I need to know why I do things because I've never been taught except with workshops with people. I've never had a formal education in any of this.
Yeah, I think that you have a right below the surface, a poetic side to you that you aren't ready or aware of. And I do see a poem in this. I do see a poetry in this. I do see, like, I could literally see a poem written right beside it that talks about some element of whatever, looking from outside in or inside out or whatever it is, or about, yeah, the spring warm light and, you know.
This is at the Wyeth Kerner farm. And this is the window that that funny old lady looked out of in some of his pictures, in Wyatt's pictures. This is her kitchen window.
Yeah.
And that means
So good.
something to me. I don't know how to explain, but it means something to me. That's why I wanted to paint it.
NC Wyeth and all three generations of the Wyeths have like messed me up. I mean, going to the NC Wyeth show my freshman year at college, it was visiting Portland. Just the photorealism in certain parts, but then having the washes in the corners and the unfinished areas. Yeah, and then like learning so much about how NC Wyeth really was jealous of the Impressionists, who I didn't care about at all as a freshman. I thought the Impressionists were just painting unfinished paintings. And just, it taught me so much. And I think that you can lean in towards the NC Wyeth and the storytelling.
Andrew Wyeth is more my thing.
Or Andrew Wyeth, yeah. Andrew Wyeth. And there's so much, even though it's kind of realism, there's so much there.
It's selective. The realism is there, but it's selective. There's so many things that get left out, and I don't know how to leave some of those things out.
I think you did a really good capture, though, of that kitchen window, and you have left a lot of things out. Look at it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
I look so forward to continuing to work with you, Cheryl and Sharon Hadley, because both of you guys seem like you're wrestling with the same issues. And I love that. I really, really do. And yeah, I was lucky. I grew up with a mom who's, you know, a poet, English teacher in my high school. And she was constantly saying, you know, oh, you wrote 3 pages and it's kind of poetic. How do we turn it into 1 paragraph? And, you know, as much as I hate my mom, that really stuck with me. Just kidding. I love her. She's amazing. But I mean, even yesterday we talked about poetry. Like I call her probably every other day, or we talk every other day. And that is where our conversations go into a lot of things, is what is the least, what is the most, what is, you know, what is describing, what is, you know, conveying, what is all those things. And that's up to us. And if this, I mean, and this is really a lot less than a lot of your work, but you know what I mean? There's not, some poems are 3 pages long. Some poems are, you know, the Iliad. They're hundreds of pages long. And there's nothing wrong with that. So just saying, okay, I want to be like Gail. I just want to be a, you know, short paragraph, or I want to, you know, 2-3 sentences that invite you into the conversation, or anything else. There's no wrong or right about poetry, just like there's no wrong or right about painting. And I think this is a beautiful piece, and I really do like, I understand it. And this is something that would have probably, like, I can imagine this being in a gallery and there's paintings and paintings, and this would be the only photo I took when I was visiting the gallery.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm not going to tell you what your poetry is. I'm not going to tell you what any of our poetry is. But all I'm going to say is, yeah, what's the least and what's the most you can say? What's, you know, and if it is a beautiful page of poetry, can you get it down to a paragraph? Maybe not. Maybe it does take 1 page.
Well, that's a whole lot different from the piece I did for the final, because this wasn't it. But there's a lot of detail in that one.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again,
I
paint very, very detailed paintings. I paint very inclusive, full paintings. And, you know, my very best friend, I think I've talked about him in the past too. He doesn't like most of my paintings because he wants all the information. Like his favorite paintings are of like the Civil War scenes with every single
Well, that's a
person
bit
in
much,
that.
but yeah.
Well, but whatever, like he likes every person in there to be, detailed. And I'm like, I'm not that guy. My mother-in-law doesn't love a lot of my paintings because she loves color. And I said, yep, that's fine. And
Stop on that one painting. If it's right where you were just talking about, one up. In the background there, that house that's up there, that's my traditional underpainting. It's part wipe away, it's part painting. But it's the kind I like to do. When we talked earlier about, and that's on canvas. So I don't know what to tell anybody who says you can't do a wipe away thing on canvas. Well, I do, but it's just my kids painting.
I think that's the best response you could ever have is like, I know it's impossible, but I do it all the time.
Well, yeah, I don't. It's hard for me to explain what gets me started with these things, but when I saw your underpaintings and I saw your thing on the on wiping away oh, what's his face's noontime thing, Art School Live. And that's why I wanted to take this class, because you do that.
Eric Rhodes.
Yes. And there's a lot more to that painting. There's a road and there's all kinds of stuff. But anyway, that's my underpainting. And the one down in the front that I was going to do, the color got away from me and I quit. I'll look at it again.
Real quick, Cheryl, before we jump away.
Yeah.
What is your idea or goal for an underpainting?
For an underpainting, I want to have my values show up there. I want to be able to have those values come through when I paint over it. But I want to have detail in there.
Why?
Because I can see it.
Yeah, but the detail will come. I think that's what's biting you in the butt right here. Is you've got a lot of your big shapes and your big information. I think, and again, I'm not going to tell you what to do, and I'm not going to tell you what your poetry is, but I will tell you that if you put detail in too early, and I think everybody here can agree with me who does a similar style, is that the detail bites you in the butt. Because what happens, Cheryl, is that we begin to paint around it. When I used to do illustration, and I would do little kids and a dragon and a grizzly bear and have them all in the same scene, I would draw these super like fine detailed, pencil drawings. And I wasn't painting. And it took me a while, a couple of years to realize, oh, I'm not painting, I'm coloring. I'm filling in the spaces. So what happens if we get this detail, like this tree here, does not need to be here. We know it's there. It's going to be there. So you don't have to put it in. You can hint at the big parts of it, the big elements. You can put a line there if it helps you to remember where it's going to be. But the truth is, we don't need the detail will come.
Okay.
And I hate to repeat that so much, but it's such an uncomfortable thing that we just think, okay, I need all the detail at the beginning. And what happens is we protect the detail, and then we're not painting, we are coloring.
And you lose your poetry.
Boom. Yeah. Michelle would never have her brush strokes in this, that glorious, interesting chance. I mean, a lot of it's chance, right, Michelle? You'll admit that.
Yeah, when you let it happen. But I was going to say, Cheryl, what if you did a quick little drawing separate on a separate piece of paper that has those things that you hope to see, and then you won't feel like you're forgetting parts.
That's, I have trouble when I do trees because I need to see where the trunks are gonna be and then paint the foliage over. And a mutual friend, Thomas says, never paint the trunk on the tree before you do the rest. And it's like, that's totally backward to me. But that's the picture I'm working on, and
Because when you go to paint over it, all your colors, you'll be, you know how one color influences the other? So
Yeah.
if those are all right there, it also might change how you do the foliage and landscape around it. Whereas if you had a drawing, just simple pencil lines or whatever of where you want to put those things, and maybe like what Michael does, where he kind of sketches in sort of just even a faint line of where those trunks are going to go, then
go ahead and do the rest.
yeah, maybe try that.
Yeah,
I
there's
could,
no
yeah.
reason that can't get drawn in towards the end or these things and a lot of those. Yeah.
This is a place in North Carolina in the Smoky Mountains that is, the first time I went there, I felt like it was magic. And I can't explain why. I've been back 3 or 4 times. And it's like the minute you drive into that area, it's a whole different world to me. It's like Linda and her desert or whatever. Anyway, that's my poetry.
Yeah. So let's lean into it.
Okay.
I'm gonna cut us off because we're already 40 minutes late.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, gosh, no, not at all. This is my favorite part of this kind of class is just talking about this. And I have so many ideas. And maybe we can talk about some of them tomorrow during painting time.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that if you can restrain yourself, and I know you talk a lot about, yeah, I've heard that, but that's not how I do it. But I think maybe if you tried it.
I just have to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a good painter, so I don't want to like disrupt your way of doing it, but I want to invite you to, I mean, you're taking courses, you're taking classes, but I think that a lot of, and this is going to be mean, a lot of what you're doing is waiting to hear somebody tell you what you're doing.
Maybe.
I always say that my favorite art books are the ones that agree with me.
This is true.
My favorite politicians are the ones that agree with me. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like goes all the way around the board. And so we just have to, what if I could learn a little bit, you know, I can still go back to my style, Cheryl, but what if I did not do any detail? What if I painted Michelle's underpainting?
Oh
And
God,
then,
I wouldn't even know how to start.
oh my gosh, I know it'd be so crazy.
Consider it an experiment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can I add something too, Michael?
30
Please.
strokes.
Because the one thing that I learned from you, and I think Cheryl, this would apply to you, I did very detailed underpaintings. In one of the first classes that I took with Michael is, you know, he cautioned me about falling in love with my underpaintings. And that's exactly what I was doing. And instead of painting, then I was coloring over the top of that underpainting, and there was no spontaneity. It was very stiff. I mean, you know, I guess I could say that it may have been well executed or whatever, but there was no emotion, there was no spontaneity. I lost the story in trying to retain all that detail. And that's the one really strong, very big thing that I've learned from Michael, is to cut loose from all of that.
Okay.
That's why my last couple of paintings have been more successful. Even with the barn, you know, I was ready for him to tell me to add all this detail into it rather than just quit and leave it.
Yeah, well, you're all gonna have to help me quit and leave it.
All right. I think there's like 9 of us left. Everybody send Cheryl a hug real quick.
Hugs, 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 hugs to Cheryl.
Hugs, 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 hugs.
Cheryl, I completely understand. Again, going back to my illustration days and going back to just, it felt it. There's a safety net there. There's all these things.
Mhm.
I would like to see you do something loose and joyous and 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is. Same with you, Kristen. I see you, Mrs. Detail down there. And Sharon too. Like, I think that you guys should be comfortable with a study being a study, a loose sketch being a loose sketch. And then, you know, I'm not saying don't paint photorealism. I'm not saying paint all the details. There's room for all of us. And I hope that I'm celebrating all of us equally, because I do appreciate everybody's artistic vision and voice and taste and choices. I know that I lean in towards a couple people a little much, and you know, and I don't like that part about my critiquing, that I just say, you know, Grail, good job again. Mary, good job again on your loose brushwork. But I hope that you guys all realize that I accept all of our styles, and that there's room for all of us, and there's no right, there's no wrong. But Cheryl, what I would ask is that you loosen up a tiny bit and let's just try some things.
Drink more wine.
I
Cheryl,
was just gonna say, she doesn't need a hug.
Yes.
She needs a
Drink off a
margarita
glass
before
of
she picks
wine.
up her brush.
Cheryl,
And Michael, you know,
Yeah.
you mentioned how my, you know, the detail. My goal was, when I started painting, was never to be detailed. I don't like that style. I don't want to do that. But when I start painting, that's just what ends up being there.
Okay, so about that, I am not against detail. I mean, you guys have seen some of my very detailed works.
Oh,
I am,
yeah. Yeah,
I am not against detail. And I also, I believe that each one of us has a signature, right? Like, nobody can copy our signature, right? And that just comes naturally because we do it enough times. And if your signature, Cheryl, Kristen, Sharon, is detail, maybe lean into that. But if it doesn't bring you joy,
it doesn't.
but maybe Cheryl, it does. Maybe
Sometimes
Sharon.
it does. Sometimes it brings me a lot of joy, but I kind of got stuck. My color didn't feel right, and I tried to use red oxide, and it was just a disaster. So I quit. Thought I'll look at it another time.
go back.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is don't beat yourself up. Like,
Right.
the last painting, and I can share it real quick. Am I still showing my screen over there?
I think
Yes.
you have my picture.
Yeah, let me bring up my Facebook page. So this one, I talked about it with the group before. This is 9 layers of translucency built up slowly, slowly, slowly. I had so much fun. The painting I'm working on now, which is the one Cheryl, you helped me with. Linda, you helped me with. Sharon, you helped me with. Gail, you helped me with last week on Thursday.
Yeah.
About that tree, just trying to figure out, oh, it's not about the roots and 1,000 branches. It's about the motion and the movement. So I went from this 9 layers of translucent, literally having to wait days between letting things dry. And I'm not saying it's a great painting or anything, but it was an interesting challenge and idea, to the next painting being the most impressionistic painting I've painted in years. You know, the thick paint and just monochromatic. I deleted it. It was on Facebook earlier, but
I love that painting. I think it's beautiful.
yeah, no, and it is, and it's nice, and I like them all, and that's just it. That's my problem and my blessing and my brain and my everything is I'm ADHD. I have so many ideas. I literally wake up at 3 a.m. and, go get a glass of water and just like, oh, today I'm gonna be Maxfield Parrish. Today I'm gonna be Monet. Today I'm gonna be, and I've had to come to terms with that. That is my brain. I won't be happy if I create in a different way. And so I don't know if that's helpful at all, Cheryl, is that I go back and forth.
Yeah.
And if you guys want, we'll just part with this. And I know I had all these things I was going to do today, but I'm just going to read real quickly what I wrote here. Just talking about taking risks. And so anyways, the underpainting was pretty good as it was. And I knew the cost of trying to make it great was risking failure and possibly ruining this painting. However, I have a few ideas and experiments about layering translucent colors that I wish to pursue. It is scary, but that is the price of knowledge and getting better. There is a good chance I will destroy this painting. All I have learned is an important lesson on what not to do in the future. I have paid, or I should say my paintings have paid this price countless times, but I know this is the tax I must pay for growth. The good news is I like how it ended up and learned a lot. And where's this?
Michael,
And then part two, real quickly before I let you, Sharon. In my head, I had a persistent whisper of an idea. What if my illuminated tones paintings, thank you, Michelle, had touches of the way Maxfield Parrish painted, meaning multiple transparent layers of color with layers of clear medium between them so that the light could get into and bounce around between the layers. This painting is now 9 layers deep. Either this works or I get that whisper of a question to be silent. Art is all about questions and setting up problems to solve issues that have 1,000 possible answers. And I love that. Fear and excitement. And my mom called me about this sentence. Fear and excitement feel very similar in the body. And if I don't feel that in my work, I know I'm not pushing myself beyond my comfort level. I'm no longer improving, experimenting, or practicing. I'm performing.
oh,
You're very
Michael.
philosophical, Mike.
And I used to think that performing was the goal, and it's not.
No, it's not.
Include that in your book.
All right.
yes.
You is it almost published, Michelle?
It's in its outline form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't get rid of any of these posts, so you can go in and cut and paste and get a lot of your book together.
That's
Okay,
true.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, not bad for a non-writer, right? For a dyslexic, dyslexic, I almost said anorexic, but I'm obviously not. Sorry, Kristen, you're muted.
Well done for a somebody whose mom's an English teacher.
Oh, I know.
Eh.
Yeah, and before my mom had really bad health issues, she was wonderful. I could just constantly like send her a paragraph and she'd send it right back. But now it's like 4 days later.
I saw Cheryl's finished work of the Peters with Peters Mountain in it, and it's quite beautiful. I really
Thank you.
enjoyed looking at it this morning, Cheryl.
Thank you. That was my final piece, but it doesn't matter. We talked about it before.
May I say a quick little joke here? What do you call a
Poor taste, Michelle, poor taste.
Okay, oh gosh.
Just kidding,
What
go
do you
ahead.
what do you call a dyslexic agnostic insomniac?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wait, give me a second.
Normal.
Dyslexic
Agnostic.
Insomniac.
Snapping priest? I don't know, yeah.
Someone who stays up all night wondering if there is a dog.
Very good. Very good.
I like that. Yep. Okay, not poor taste. Way better than my joke I was gonna put. No, okay. Yeah, so I still have 3 hours more of this class to teach you guys and share with you guys about framing and glazing and varnishing and
Next time.
all the other things. So
See you
Yeah.
next Wednesday.
see you next Wednesday. Yeah, it's funny because I woke up so early to set up the whole studio with all the supplies, but this was wonderful. I hope you guys
This was
found it
helpful.
useful and important.
I got so
and,
much.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I
This is very
scraped my
helpful.
little blue tree off and I'm happy.
Awesome. And Linda Camarada, I'm gonna ask you to stay with me after class. But the rest of you guys, I hope to see you tomorrow if we can, and if not next week.
Yep.
And I appreciate the
Bye.
photos from Sharon and Cheryl for the class. And yeah, I truly adore you guys. I really do. This
The feeling is mutual.
yeah,
Yes,
some of
it
my
is.
favorite part of the week, and this is wonderful.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
See you
All
tomorrow.
right.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right, so yeah, Linda,
Bye.
stay with me. Bye, guys.